Batman the Animated Series Season 1 episode Read My Lips featured the first appearance of the ventriloquist on Scarface. In a sports arena, a boxing match is taking place, but once the match is over, the earnings from the fight are taken away. However, the fight money is soon stolen by henchmen who later give the proceeds to their mysterious boss, Scarface. This new gang soon makes its mark on the criminal scene within Gotham, and after a number of incidents, the Gotham City Police Department is unable to make any progress with apprehending the gang. Eventually, Batman discovers where the gang is hiding out and searches it. Finding a ventriloquist, Batman interrogates him, but he doesn't know anything. Hearing another voice, Batman assumes that it's the leader of the gang but can't see who it is clearly or exactly. The ventriloquist is clearly afraid, and Batman decides to place a hidden microphone on him and leaves. Back at the Batcave, Batman listens in on the conversation between the ventriloquist and Scarface. Batman deduces that the ventriloquist, whose actual name is Arnold Wesker, has a multiple personality disorder where he and his persona of Scarface are two different people. Batman later comes with a plan to defeat Scarface, as he's later captured by Scarface's gang. And when confronted by the gang, Scarface and ventriloquist claim that they knew of the listening device and demands that Batman tell him who betrayed the gang so that Batman would know the details of their next heist. Batman later refuses but eventually claims that the ventriloquist told him of the plans and he was the one who had betrayed the gang. An angry Scarface tells his henchmen to kill the ventriloquist, but the gang is hesitant because if they kill the ventriloquist, wouldn't Scarface be killed as well in some sort of a paradox? Eventually, Batman frees himself and a shootout erupts in the lair. Scarface's wooden body is destroyed by gunfire as the ventriloquist cries out at seeing Scarface's body being shot up. After the gang is arrested, Arnold Wesker is taken to Arkham Asylum, and after a few months, doctors mention that he's receiving medication to help cure his personality disorder, but the episode ends with the ventriloquist using his woodworking skills to craft a new wooden body for Scarface. The episode was one of the last of Season 1, as the villains of Ventriloquist and Scarface were introduced rather late in the original Batman the Animated Series. Analysts later said at the time, out of Batman's rogue gallery of villains and villainesses, Arnold Wesker was one of the least depicted in the cartoon. The theory was later considered credible due to the fact that Bruce Timm reflected back on the episode, explaining that there were creative differences between screenwriters as well as producers for the cartoon on representatives of DC Comics as to how Scarface or even the ventriloquist should be depicted within the Batman cartoon of the time. The original comic details had Arnold Wesker being a poorly skilled ventriloquist who essentially had no training with throwing his voice to other objects. Arnold couldn't pronounce the letter B correctly, so when he projected his voice, a normal person pronounced Batman. Scarface would notably say Grotman. For the animated series version of Arnold Wesker was reimagined as an extraordinarily skilled ventriloquist who was so skilled with the art of ventriloquism that when the Bat computer was analyzing the conversation between Batman after he had put the listening device onto Arnold, and only Batman was able to tell the difference. In the comics, Arnold Wesker hated Scarface as well as hating being forced to do what Scarface wanted. Due to the challenges of using Scarface, the character was technically killed in the new Batman Adventure Season 1 episode Double Talk. However, due to the depictions in the cartoon, the comic depictions of the ventriloquist and Scarface mostly changed to suit the portrayal as seen in the Batman the Animated Series of the time, as viewers of the cartoon overwhelmingly preferred that version, and even some comic readers admitted that the reimagining of the early 1990s ventriloquist and Scarface were actually more better and updated when compared to the slightly outdated comics version. In any case, it was one of the few situations where a villain of Batman was technically killed off in this series. Sometimes a character can be forgotten because creative differences have different interpretations of the same character.